Good morning, everybody. This is my Christmas tree. They always look so much better in the woods, and then you get them to your living room, and you're like, Anyways, it was fun, so that's all that matters. I want to talk a little bit about the quarter moon in this video, and then I also want to touch on rational versus irrational fear. That's a thing that I journaled about a while ago, but it seems like it keeps coming back up for whatever reason with this moon cycle in particular. So here we go. Okay, so the quarter moon occurs when the moon is square to the sun. Currently the sun is in Sagittarius and the moon is in Pisces. Those two signs are square to each other. And a lot of people refer to this as the quarter moon crisis. And that's because, the square, when things are 90 degrees from each other, it can be harsh. I think it's considered the harshest aspect in astrology. And it's harsh for the fact that you're being asked to hold like two very different energies, two very different archetypes, if you will. If you're used to one, the other one is just really different, and it can be difficult to adjust. But that's not to say that you can't have positive square experiences. I've had wonderful square experiences. And I have to remind myself when I know that a big square is coming that that's true as well. There's a thing that I like to tell myself, okay, and this is what I learned in physics, is this. You cannot have balance without equal and opposing forces. You have to have very different forces, equal in magnitude, to create balance. And I view the square as that, okay? That's how it feels to me for some reason. And I like to remind myself coming into squares that it is an opportunity to get at balance in a way that perhaps you won't find in other aspects, okay? But it can be tough. So that's a square, all right? And not only is this moon square to the sun, but it's conjunct Saturn, which has been a big thing for this little time period for me. And then not only is it that it's conjunct Saturn in Pisces, but it's also square Jupiter in Gemini. So it's spicy. And there's other things going on. I don't know about y'all, but the first little bit of December has been potent. Just so potent. Anyways, okay, so where I'm at. To recap with this moon cycle, what I'm getting at here is that I want to make sure that my belief system, this is the Sagittarius bit where the sun is, my belief system, my higher ideals, I want to make sure that those things are in line with who I am, like my internal truth. And I want to make sure that all of that is the driving force behind my daily actions, my health routines, my work, the things that I build into this world. I want to make sure that the driving force behind all of that is aligned with my higher ideals, my beliefs, okay? If you haven't watched the last video, watch that one. I explain that a bit more. And I want to do this because I think that the reasons why you do things, your intent behind what you do, is actually more important than what you do. Okay, you could do, I don't know. Anyways, intent is everything, 100%. So yeah, I'm trying to get at making sure that the intent behind the things that I create is in line with my higher self, my highest ideals. And so far, I got nothing, man. That's my crisis. So I've spent the last 2 weeks sort of hyper-analyzing all of the things that I do, looking at the reasons why I do everything that I do, in terms of making these videos, doing research, working out, all of those things. And yeah, my crisis is coming to this realization that I really lack a well-defined reason, force behind any of that. Okay? And that's sort of, okay, so the moon is conjunct Saturn. And Saturn is very much the planet of structure, rules. It's like the things that govern, right? I like to think of Saturn as, the grumpy uncle, like on holiday, on Christmas or whatever, that like is making sure everybody shows up on time to the events, making sure that everybody follows the fucking rules. Nobody's going crazy, and a lot of like people don't like that guy, right? He sucks. He's the rule guy. But in all reality, that guy is 100% necessary to making sure that things get done, like actually getting done. In my crisis, like I have this emotional disrest from the fact that I want to more fully develop my belief systems, the sun in Sagittarius, but that is at odds. The moon in Pisces conjunct Saturn, those two things are at odds, because I feel like I have a real lack of structure in my belief system, in the reasons why I do things. So that's my quarter moon crisis, is realizing that like, okay, I have all of these dreams, these wonderful things that are stirring about in here, but I lack the structure to take those things and actually make them a reality. And I lack the ability internally to like set rules and like objectives and to basically give structure to what my dreams are. That's my crisis. And I will work it out. Here in about a week, I'll be howling at the moon and I'll have something cool to say. Hopefully, we'll see. And I'll have perhaps a better, more developed sense of how to create structure and how to make sure that my stuff is aligned correctly. But right now, it's okay. It's not. I don't have that. And I think it's okay to admit in your life that you're in those periods where you don't have it together and it feels uncomfortable. So if you're there, you're there. Welcome. You're not alone, all right? We'll see where it goes, And just, I guess I can briefly recap sort of what I have discovered about my activities. It's this, like, I've noticed that a lot of the activities that I do are what I refer to as autopilot activities in my daily life. Things that I do, that I just do, and there's no conscious thought behind it. For example, working out. I'm like an avid worker-outer 5 days a week, and I just do it without thinking. And I can't imagine, like, really not adhering to that schedule. It's just what I do, okay? But here's the thing. It's like, no one sees my ass naked, ever. It's been years. This is TMI. I don't anticipate anybody ever seeing me naked in the future. Like, I don't work, this is what I'm getting. I don't work out for vanity. I don't work out to be seen. I don't even really work out for health reasons. I just do it, okay? So I've identified, these are the easy ones, okay? I've identified these activities that I do, and I'm realizing they're autopilot activities. And so what I've been working on is when I actually do go to do the activity, I put conscious thought behind it. When I go to work out, I like to think like, okay, Lindsay, you're doing this to build your body for tree climbing so that you can get more cones in the fall. And that's true, okay? And putting a purpose behind it so that when I'm actually done working out, it's kind of like I created a thing with some actual intent, some purpose. And for some reason that feels better, okay? Or, I'll tell myself, Lindsay, this is for your health, like you're building your strength, you're making yourself feel better, right? Or reminding myself that like being able to work out 5 days a week actually is like me showing dedication or what's the word I'm looking for? Commitment. Things that I kind of lack in other areas of my life. I'm actually doing that in my working out, and I'm reminding myself like you are actually capable of that. Discipline. That's the word I'm looking for. I lack that in so many areas of life, but I can be disciplined in working out. And like I'm reminding myself when I'm working out, you are being disciplined. You are capable of that. Now apply it to other areas of life. So it's like one good thing that has happened in all of this so far is I've been able to take, my autopilot activities, put more purpose behind it, but then also remind myself that like that activity in and of itself is powerful, and you can utilize sort of like that energy. You're capable of doing this in this area. Apply it to an area where you're a little bit weaker on it. So it's not all shit. There are areas where I feel like I'm improving, okay? Another thing that I've noticed, I'm just going to share this, is I've noticed that, like, the reasons why I do things for every activity is a mixed bag. Like, there's positive and there's negative aspects to everything that I do. And there's this piece of me that freaks out a little bit when I realize that there's a negative reason. There's a negative reason I make these videos. There's a negative reason I do research, you know. And I sometimes kind of like hyperfixate on that negative reason. And I get this attitude where I'm like, fuck it, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to go back to watching Netflix like everybody else does, okay? Who gives a fuck? But that's not good either. You know, I think a lot of this is me realizing that, like, okay, there's a darker aspect to it. But I don't have to let that be the reason. It exists. I can't deny it. I can't get rid of it, right? But what I'm going to do is orient myself more towards what is positive, what I want the reason to be. And I just got to figure all that out. And I'll let you know, okay? But that's where I'm at in my moon cycle. It's a messy process. Life is messy, so I'll keep you updated. Okay, the next little bit that I want to talk about is fear. Everybody's favorite subject. That's what people want to engage with, is fear. No, I think this is really important. Anytime that I get really into like thinking about research, one thing that pops up is fear. I have a lot of fear within myself about that, even though I love it. That's the crazy thing, is I love it, but there's some deep-rooted fear there, okay? You know, and I feel like it's fear that everybody has. Like, am I good enough? Am I fucking smart enough, right? Quantitative genetics is nothing to just balk at. Like, do I have the discipline, right? I fear that I don't. Like, all of these things, okay? I think these are all really common fears, all right? So, I want to talk about it. This is how I'm working through it. Hopefully this will help somebody somewhere, whatever, okay? So I want to start with a story, and this kind of gets at rational versus irrational fear. What are those two things, okay? Now, earlier this year in the summer, I was gazing upon butterflies. I do that a lot. I love me some butterflies, okay? And I had one land on my hand. And I like took it to my kid and I was like, dude, look at this, you know, like, it's a butterfly. And just thinking it was like the coolest thing ever. This kid had an absolute freaking meltdown. Just lost his shit. The most fearful that I've actually ever seen him. He just broke down over this butterfly. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, to me, that fear is completely irrational. Doesn't make any sense at all. To most people, that doesn't make sense at all. Right? But to him and his teeny tiny little body, that fear was completely valid and real. You know, he was scared. Okay? It was kind of this epiphany moment that, like, fear or just feelings in general can exist in other people and be so fucking real and so painful, or whatever, terrifying, regardless of if I think it's valid or not. And I think that a lot of times with children, it's like they have these irrational fears, and we sort of like tell them that their feelings are invalid, right? Because we don't think they are, but they are actually experiencing that for sure, for real, in their body, right? Be kind to children, even if they're terrified of stupid shit. That's all I'm trying to say. And other people too, right? You know, just because you don't think somebody's fear or pain or whatever is valid, that doesn't mean that what they're experiencing is not totally real. Anyways, okay, so I had this realization of that, side note, and then also that, you know, perhaps what traps us in fear is just our perspective. right? Because as soon as he comes to realize that a butterfly doesn't actually have teeth or is not going to hurt you, it literally is the most gentle, beautiful thing on earth. Like, it has a straw that sucks things up. That's cool. Like, when he realizes that, his fear will go away. Okay, and it's just really, he needs to like shift his perspective to see that it's not dangerous and it's actually quite beautiful. Okay, and I kind of had this moment where I realized that like perhaps my fears that I have as a grown-ass adult are the same way. And I truly believe this, that all fear really is all irrational fear. And it's probably just a shift in perspective that we need to get out of it. Not to say that like some fear does keep us safe, okay, we could get really into the weeds with it, but in general, like the fear that we aren't good enough, the fear that we're not capable, those types of fears that I'm talking about, those are the ones that I'm referring to, okay? I think that shit's bullshit, and it's a matter of perspective that we need to free ourselves from, okay? And I think that, in 50 years, old Lindsay is going to look at 30-year-old Lindsay and be like, wow, the fears that you had at that time were completely irrational, right? And I want to get to that perspective, old Lindsay perspective now, right? And free myself from those things, okay? And here's the danger of rational fear, right? It's that our mind will take XYZ reason and make the fear that we have real and tangible. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll worry, I'll be fearful that like, okay, I don't have what it takes. And my mind will sit and think of XYZ time that I didn't have what it takes. Ignoring the fact that there are other examples where I did have what it takes. But my mind will hyperfixate on the times that I didn't, right? And it will take those things and make my fear rational, okay? It's like your mind sometimes can like confirm, sort of a negative perception that you have that might not actually be real, okay? One of my teachers, really cool lady, really appreciate all the things she does, explained to me that the mind wants to place blame or to rationalize our discomfort. And there's a real danger in that, okay? Because then that's kind of how you get trapped in that place, right? Instead of just being open to the discomfort, feeling it, the mind wants to rationalize it. And I think that fear and pain are kind of like two faces on the same coin, right? They're kind of like really very similar things, okay? So I think that rational fear is your mind just trying to put structure around the discomfort that you feel, okay? And it will trap you. And it's very tricky to get out of it. Like, I make it sound like it's so easy to just understand all of this. It's not, okay? And I think that the way out is to be open to the discomfort of the fear that you feel. Like the small child, even though your fear is irrational, from some other perspective, your old you perspective, or from somebody else who's already worked through that fear, just because it's irrational from a different place, it's real in your body. So like, honor and love yourself for the fear and the discomfort that you feel in your own body. Step 1, okay? Love yourself as you would love a little child that's afraid of a butterfly. Okay? Be open to the discomfort. I like to write my fears down. I journal about them. I think that removes from your fear. Takes some of the power away. I'll write the reasons why I'm afraid, and I'll look to see if that's real. Perhaps I could shift my perspective to take away the validity of that thing. And you'll find if you do this, I think that you can. It takes work. And then you have to like remind yourself when you're having the fear, because it's like kind of like a knee-jerk reaction that you have when you've lived within the fear for a while, okay? You have to like feel it and then remind yourself like, maybe this isn't that real, and then change your course of action. So anyways, write your fears down, examine them, try to shift your own perspective. It's something that I'm working on. Yeah. And I want to share with you some dragonfly medicine. This is the medicine cards. This is my favorite book. This is kind of like my Bible at the moment. Here we go. Dragonfly. Now, dragonfly medicine is of the dream time and the illusionary facade that we accept as physical reality, right? The things that we take, our mind will rationalize and make real. There's a whole long story about dragonfly, but in short, dragonfly used to be a powerful magical dragon. This is where people are like, what the fuck is she talking about? Sound like a crazy person. No, dragonfly used to be a powerful dragon. She met Coyote, and Coyote basically tricked her into thinking, creating an illusion for her that she was less, right? And she believed the illusion. And she went from a powerful magical dragon into just a dragonfly because that's what she believed she was. Okay. And the illusions that we carry are sort of the things that we use to rationalize our fear, the things that we use to rationalize our pain, right? Might not actually be real, but we use those reasons to explain our discomfort, to explain our pain. Okay, and in some ways they trap us. I tell myself, or I'll pick out XYZ reason where I was not good enough, or I was not capable, and I'll make that my reality. And then those reasons are what prevent me from actually being able to do what I can do. Okay, those are the illusions that I speak of. Okay, and I'll end with this paragraph from Dragonfly. This was an entire story arc of my life, okay? This is one of the most powerful paragraphs in my life. Okay, so hopefully you can get something out of it. All right, you ready? No pressure. Reading in front of people's hard. Okay. Here we go. Misery is a prime clue that you lost your will and your personal validity when you bought into someone else's idea of who or what you should be. Sometimes that person can be you, okay? You can tell yourself certain things that you buy into that aren't necessarily true to you, okay? The illusion was that you would be happier if you did it their way. In forfeiting what you know is right and true for you personally, you give away your power. Okay, when you buy into the bullshit that you tell yourself, that other people tell you, you're not good enough. You ain't fucking pretty enough. You're not smart enough. You lack the dedication. Things like that. Things you tell yourself, things that other people tell you. When you buy into that bullshit, you lose your power. Okay? And my hope, my genuine hope, is that myself and all people can look at those things, those illusions, and break them down and rid themselves of them, because I want people to be powerful. I want people to have, the power of self to realize that there's a lot of good shit there, So hopefully this helps you in some way, shape, or form. Think about it. I love you all. If you've engaged with this video in any way, shape, or form, thank you. It means a lot to me. I know they're long-winded and whatever, but yeah. I'll keep you updated on the moon cycle, and yeah, much love.